Or turn it up. Oh.
I hear no music.
Oh, really?
with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Wednesday, January 31st, 2024. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Rena Wong, president of the United Food and Commercial Workers Local 663, just a couple of weeks after they rejected a contract offer in Minnesota. Also on the program today, Abby Vesoulis, national politics reporter at Mother Jones, on the potential imminent end of WIC, supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children. Also on the program today, U.S. primed to retaliate for the drone attack in Jordan as Iran signals it's stepping back from the conflict. Senate Judiciary Committee holds completely vacuous child safety hearing with social media companies. Speaking of vacuous, the House Homeland Security Committee votes in favor of 2 articles of impeachment for Alejandro Mayorkas on partisan lines. A judge voids Elon Musk's $56 billion Tesla pay package. In unrelated news, a judge has not voided my $56 billion pay package. Meanwhile, Florida bars transgender residents from acknowledging their gender on their driver's license. And Utah is now policing transgender people on where they go to the bathroom. After being cleared by the House Ethics Panel, the DOJ is now investigating Cori Bush campaign spending. Imran Khan sentenced to a second prison sentence this week, this time for 14 years, amid accusations that the charges are purely political. Kristen Cinema fundraising has dried up, ladies and gentlemen. And Trump's PAC spent $50 million on legal expenses in 2023. It's a lot of commemorative coins.
Best lives, too.
Private payrolls slow in January, and new report fossil fuel industry has known of climate change danger as early as 1954. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday, or
Hump Day.
Emma Vigeland back from vacation to the West Coast.
Ish, yeah.
I mean, people were really calling it a vacation.
I mean, people
Working on the weekend.
People tend to be wrong, yeah.
People were calling it a vacation. I mean, I'm just saying what the IMers were. There was a lot of people.
I did take like a day or two to see some family, which was very lovely. My cousin has a 1.5-year-old who I love so much, so I got to actually hang out with her, take her to the park. It was quite wholesome. I mean, I was happy
playing
about
the baby
that.
card on
on
the vacation. All right, fair enough.
Trying to stave off the vacation accusation. Well, actually, that may have helped, but I got in at like 2 a.m. last night, so don't expect too much from me today. Please.
Well, all right.
Planes were safe.
Yes, I did. The no Boeing doors flew off, though. That's people can rest easy on that.
I got a story right here about a former manager. Where did I have that? Who basically said, I tell my family and my friends not to get on a Boeing plane. That's what this guy says. Where is that article? I wasn't going to talk about that today. But yeah, I don't usually look at what kind of plane it is. Overall, I go into Seat Guru to find out like which seat I should get or something like that. But
we should say, like, in the wake of Charlie Kirk and everyone saying the rise of DEI is unsafe for airlines, that actually overall plane safety is up. But Boeing is having these problems specifically because of the financialization of its like C-suite.
Okay, to be fair, the ex-Boeing manager said I would absolutely not fly a MAX airplane, not the other Boeing ones, the MAX airplane.
But Sam, I did, though, when I got on the plane, I checked out if I had a white pilot and he was male.
What you gonna say? I checked the bolts.
So I didn't. That kind of made me feel a lot better.
Checked his jawline.
Yeah, I rated him hot or not, and he came more towards the hot side, and so then we were able to take off. With
what do you do when you walk onto the plane and they say "Welcome aboard"? Do you say, "Is a Chad flying this?"
Yeah. Yes. Right. Right. I mean, what's your T levels, Captain? And.
You have like some type of pocket device that will measure T levels?
Would you submit to a blood test before getting on flying this plane?
Gives them some alpha brain in case
slow,
yeah.
Anyway, hey.
All right, yes, okay. There you go. So as we speak, or I should say, the chair of the Department of Homeland Security is en route to at least congressional impeachment hearings. Now, the Republican Party is in such disarray in the House that literally yesterday at one point, as I had mentioned was possible, maybe we can put this up, Jim McGovern made the claim. He is a congressman from the Worcester, Massachusetts area. In fact, also the chair, I think, of the House Rules Committee, made the claim that, in fact, at one point on the floor of the House, Democrats had a majority of people present on the House floor, and you can see there, Sahil Kapoor said that at Monday's House vote, Democrats were the majority, 201 to 198. And I think the next time that happens, I mean, it should have happened that time, but the next time that happens, there is no reason why the Democrats shouldn't be voting for a discharge petition. Only takes one person to raise it and then vote on it. And but in the meantime, this is going to these type of numbers are why we may not see this impeachment actually hit the floor of the House. But make no mistake about it, the Republican Party has one agenda for this election at this point, and that is immigration, immigrants, immigration, brown people, immigration, immigrants, brown people. And it really is just a matter of counting down until this that talking point infects the Taylor Swift talking point. It will get there. I promise you, folks, it will get there. We will find out that Taylor Swift is a secret immigrant, or that she is friends with an immigrant, or that Kelsey is an immigrant, or that he knows an immigrant. It will get there. They are working it into everything because that is the one thing that agitates, aside from Taylor Swift, their voters. Here is Marjorie Taylor Greene on with Larry Kudlow, talking about the attack that took place in Jordan, the drone attack that killed 3 U.S. servicemen and injured, I think, close to 30 others. And here's Marjorie Taylor Greene managing to shoehorn, if you will, immigration into that situation.
Enforcing the law, but also breaking the public trust. I mean, that's a very important thing. Breaking the public trust. Everybody knows there was a massive problem and breakdown, and Mayorkas and his boss Biden. You know, presidents never lie, Marjorie. They just have cognitive dissonance, or they just have untruths. So we've been faced with this massive untruth for 3 years. Now it's time to take an accounting.
Well, they can't trick the American people, Larry, and you and I both know this is horrific. Month after month, it's another historic number of invasions. December was the highest number. But we can't watch Americans die every single day from fentanyl overdose and illegal alien crime. It's members of Congress. We're the lawmakers, not the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. And Secretary Mayorkas has taken it into his hands to make this border invasion possible. He's paroled illegal aliens en masse into the country. And here we have, tragically, 3 members of the Georgia reserves killed in this awful attack that we've just learned about. You know, I think those reservists would rather be guarding our southern border and protecting our homeland than tragically getting killed because of Biden's weakness and horrific foreign policy that's led to this attack.
That's some like Andy Borowitz level, take column A and cross it with column B type of thing going on there.
Although that's a pretty good distillation of like isolationist foreign policy by Republicans, right? Where they don't, they don't. If you hear any critique about Biden's support for Israel's genocide, it's more just like about, well, we should be bombing Mexico instead, and we should be militarizing our border instead.
We've lost National Guards people trying to like save people from drowning in the Rio Grande. Those people also shouldn't be down at the border either to die there, whether it's Jordan or the Rio. Maybe the militarization isn't the key to solving these problems.
We are also on day now 5, I think, past the deadline where where federal border patrol people should be allowed into that park in Texas to pull down that razor wire. And as of yet, the Biden administration hasn't done anything. And, the bottom line is you've got the attempts of Senate Republicans to make this immigration deal as part of like the supplemental funding for Ukraine and Israel. And it is imploding under the weight of the desire of the Republicans not to have anything but a live issue. And this notion by Biden and the Democrats where they think they're going to get some type of benefit from the idea that the Republicans are stopping this bill and won't take yes for an answer. This is simply not how the politics work in this, really in the past 20 years. You cannot meet the Republicans halfway or 3/4 of the way, or basically capitulate to their position and then whine that the Republicans won't say yes. They're better at this than the Democrats are. The Democrats need to stake out a position that is different from the Republicans, that actually brings these contrasts to light in support of the people who support them.
Right. I think if you were to ask the average person what the Democrats want to do with the border, there would be either no answer or a open borders situation. And then if you were to ask people what Republicans want to do on the border, they would be quite clear in their response. Close it, stop the flow of immigrants.
Which Biden said he would do if he had the power to.
Right.
But you see, this is the problem, is that every time you talk about immigration as the president, if you do not have a fundamentally different view and position on this, all you're doing is you're playing into the Republicans' issue. If you say there is I'll tell you, this is the way that Barack Obama, people forget this, in the lead up to the Iowa primaries in 2008, Barack Obama simply had to say that there is a problem with Social Security. And he ended up winning I think it was the Iowa caucus. And it was after he didn't even give a solution necessarily. But as soon as you sort of acknowledge there's a problem, you won the argument, particularly if, the Republicans are saying there's an invasion every day. Matt and I were talking about this yesterday. I'm sure you've experienced this, Emma. When you leave New York City and you talk to someone who is outside of New York City, the first thing they'll ask you often is how is it there?
Yeah.
With the whole immigration problem.
Right.
And the fact is, unless you provide as an alternate a fundamentally different vision of how we should deal with immigration in this country, all you're doing always at every juncture is playing into Republican hands on this. And the idea that the Republicans won't sign off on a bill because Donald Trump doesn't want to will get you 0 votes. Zero votes. Because if you complain that the Republicans are stopping you from fixing this problem, you have immediately just played into the hands of the Republicans who say that this is a massive problem.
It's the same thing with the budget. It's the same thing with the another Obama era example of basically capitulating to that kind of pro-austerity framing, and then the attempts to do that 100%. Kind of grand bargain. The Obama was saved in many ways by the Republican extremism, but that also hit him. That was a big part of the reason that Democrats didn't have more lasting electoral gains during the Obama years, was because of not providing any kind of counter narrative.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right. In a moment, we're going to be talking to Rena Wong. She's president of the United Food and Commercial Workers, UFCW, Local 663 in Minnesota, over supermarket workers who staged a 4-day strike against grocery employers and around Christmas time, and apparently still can't get a decent contract. But first, a word. Oh, and then we'll be talking to Abby Vesoulis, national politics reporter at Mother Jones, about WIC, which is getting caught up in this series of continuing resolutions and failure to pass an actual budget. But first, a couple of sponsors today. Think about some great duos in the in past: Batman, Robin, Socrates, Plato, the Wright brothers, all achieving much. Batman, Robin fighting crime, I guess. But what's the perfect duo when it comes to growing your business? It is Shopify, and it is you. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. It takes you from the launch your online shop stage to the first real life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify is there to help you grow. Doesn't matter whether you're selling Majority Report merch or soap or, I don't know, outdoor outfits. It doesn't matter. Shopify helps you sell everywhere. So it helps you, one, on their all-in-one e-commerce platform. Then they have integration with their in-person point-of-sale system. And then it also goes to all the social media platforms. So wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify has got you covered. Shopify helps turn your browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. We've all been there, folks. You get on one of these sales platforms, you can't figure it out. It starts to spin and you're just like, I'll come back to it, and you don't buy it. Well, Shopify, 36% better on average. You can sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic. It is your AI-powered all-star. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the United States, and Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and shop.majorityreportradio.com. Millions of other entrepreneurs every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning help is there to support your success every step of the way, because businesses that grow with Shopify. And I'll just tell you from my own personal experience, very intimidated to open up a merch store. I was like, are we going to be able to update it quickly? And if we come up with ideas and et cetera, Shopify has been a breeze. And, we don't do a ton of business, but the beauty is that if we go and sell stuff, at a live event, we can integrate it with our Shopify, give us data and whatnot. And it would be amazing if we suddenly, for some reason, our merch store took off. I know that Shopify would be there to grow with us. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/majority, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/majority right now to grow your business. No matter what stage you're in, shopify.com/majority. Also, talked about this yesterday. Men think losing their hair is inevitable, but you can take care of your hair's future with Nutrafol's science-backed hair growth supplement for men. I've been taking this now for a year. Em and I have discussed this. She's had friends who have had good experience with this. And I started to feel like I was getting a little thinning. No, it's on this side. I can't even remember which side it was now. On this side, I don't know why. Like maybe it was the way I was like pulled out of the womb or something. But I was like feeling a little thinning. And I'm like, I got to get out ahead of this. We had some Nutrafol from back when we almost advertised when Michael was around, but we didn't. And so I started taking it, and it's been great. I've been taking it for over a year now, and like 84% of others in clinical trials, my hair's not thinning as much.
Wow.
Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are physician formulated using 100% drug-free ingredients. Their patented technology provides consistent, reliable results without compromising your sex life. So while many supplements rely solely on ingredient studies, like I said, Nutrafol clinically tests their final formulations. So it's not just like how do the different ingredients impact it. When you put them together, clinical study, 84% of men showed improvement in their hair after 6 months taking Nutrafol's men's hair growth supplements. You can take their hair wellness quiz on Nutrafol.com/men right now for a personalized hair health plan based on your specific root causes, no pun intended. With Nutrafol, building a hair growth routine, it's simple. You purchase it online. You don't need a prescription. You don't need a doctor visit or anything like that. Free shipping, automated deliveries. Ensure you never miss a day. See results in 3 to 6 months. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand with over 1 million people seeing thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding. Take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair for a limited time. Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men. Enter the promo code TMR. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/men, spelled Nutrafol.com/men. Enter promo code TMR. That's Nutrafol.com/men. Promo code TMR. As always, we will put the links in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. Going to take a quick break. When we come back, Rena Wong, President of the United Food and Commercial Workers, UFCW Local 663. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigland on the Majority Report. Want to welcome to the program Rena Wong, President of the United Food and Commercial Workers, Local 663, who is joining us from Mankato, Minnesota at the moment, in the middle of negotiations for a food processing plant as opposed to the grocery store workers. But Rena, give us a sense, Local 663 of the UFCW, who do you represent?
So we represent essential workers in Minnesota. These are your grocery store workers, your meat packing workers, healthcare workers who kept us all fed and cared for throughout the pandemic.
And so how many members do you have?
We represent 17,000 members in Minnesota, so in the metro and throughout greater Minnesota.
So give us the backstory on what's happening with the grocery store workers. I guess, I mean, even pre the Christmas walkout.
Sure. So, we have had a year of escalations to strikes at our local and in Minnesota because, these are essential grocery. They were the ones who took care of us. And so when we came to the table for negotiations at the beginning of the year in 2023, the employers were really making proposals that were disrespectful of that work and that sacrifice day after day that our members showed up for. And so, it's been really a year of transformation and changing what people, specifically the employers, believe is the right way to treat our members and workers who work in retail. And so it's been a long year of fights and of wins by our grocery store members in the metro. Employers here, the grocery store chains here are Cub Foods, Lenz and Byerly's, Kowalski's, a lot of Seward Community Co-op. Every 6 to 8 weeks, basically, we were running from zero to almost strike in order for those employers to truly recognize the importance of our members.
And so wait, who went on strike during the Christmas holidays or the run-up?
So over the Christmas holidays, the members in the Brainerd Lakes area went out on an unfair labor practices strike. They were at 4 days, right up until Christmas, to really protest against the employer's illegal practices around retaliating, intimidating, surveilling workers as they were really participating in protected concerted activity around their contract.
And so when they start doing that, like at one point, I guess they snuck into a WhatsApp group where the workers were talking about some of the issues that they were having at work. Do you file a grievance with the National Labor Relations Board?
Yes, we filed charges with the National Labor Relations Board. And then workers took a vote about whether or not they wanted to strike over those unfair labor practices.
And where are we now with those workers?
So that labor dispute has still not been resolved. Workers have been working without a contract since December 3rd. We are going to be meeting with the employer again here in February, but the proposals from the employer are still not acceptable, right? Cost of living, inflation. I think everybody knows what has been going on, not just in Minnesota, but across the country. And for employers to say, this is the best we've ever done. Sure. But the best we ever done after years of COVID, the best we've ever done after the inflation and the cost of living and the cost of food has gone up so significantly. Workers need to be getting closer to a livable wage. And that is what workers are fighting for.
And the last proposal that came in, I guess about 2 weeks ago now, was rejected.
Correct. The workers voted no again. The employer really insisted that we take their offer out to a vote. It was an offer that was very similar to the one that had been rejected previously already in December. And we're not going to settle for less than our members deserve.
And my understanding is it was reported at one point that that the attorney for the supermarkets admitted that it could afford the union's proposal. Is that the case? That doesn't seem to be a very good negotiating tactic to say, yeah, we could afford this, but we're just not going to.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it?
Yes.
That the employers here are family-owned businesses, the Quisbergs and the Miners. They own these Cub Foods, Super Value, Super One stores, and their attorney just came right out and said, "Yeah, we can afford it. We just don't think it's appropriate." Could you imagine saying to somebody who has kept you fed throughout the pandemic, when folks were getting sick and other people could work from home and they had to go every single day to work to make sure that our country kept running, for somebody to come back to them now and say, "Oh, it's just not appropriate to pay you"?
Well, to me, it feels like it's not, of course it's about the bottom line, but it's also about disciplining, I would say, a labor force, right? Like essentially trying to say, we're going to keep you a little bit subservient, not get too much power, not to get too much money in opposition to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is ridiculous for anybody to believe that workers do not understand their own power and their own needs and what they need to be able to afford for their families. On the strike lines, we had a young mother. She's been working since she was a kid in these grocery stores, right? And she had her baby with her on that line because she knew what she needs to be able to do to support her kid. And for them to say something like that is just a slap in the face for all of these workers who've worked so hard and continue to work so hard.
What, when the lawyer says we just don't think it's appropriate, what did you say? Well, what does that mean? Is it really just that we just don't think? I mean, it's almost as if they're saying, because there also seems to be multiple tiers if you're doing the cleanup aisle. I was reading, you're doing the cleanup work that you don't get paid as much. It almost sounds like there is that this is about maintaining some type of caste system as opposed to this being an economic question. I mean, I don't even understand what that guy means when he says we just don't think it's appropriate.
I mean, one of the issues that we've been fighting and struggling with the employers on is there are different classifications of workers. And all year long, we've been trying to collapse those classifications. There used to be several classifications of full-timers, several classifications of part-timers. And as you say, it creates this division and caste and almost like second-class folks, right? That doesn't benefit anybody because everybody works in the store. They work as a team. They make sure that people can get their groceries, and to say that the folks who are considered the courtesy or custodial, the folks who are bagging groceries outside, moving the carts back inside from the parking lot, those are the actual people who work in those jobs are some of the most vulnerable adults. And to say that those folks only deserve 50 cents is, I don't know how folks sleep at night thinking that in 2024, you could afford to live on 50 cents more. And as I said, these are some of the most vulnerable adults. These are folks who have disabilities and who are working and should be the ones that we protect as a society, and that the employers should recognize for their work.
Give us a little bit of background as to what's happened with the union, because from what I've read, your union has sort of undergone a little bit of like internal change of disposition in the way that we've seen other unions. The UAW, Sean Fain was part of a reform movement, and certainly sort of like more aggressive. We've seen this across a lot of unions across the country over the past couple of years in particular, but even starting like, in the middle of the decade with the teachers unions, where there has been just a willingness or a greater recognition of worker power and a more sort of a greater willingness to exercise it.
Yeah, so it has been a year of transformation at UFCW 663, and one that has been the most fun organizing that I have done in my over 20 years as an organizer, as a union organizer. And it is, as a union, it is the role of labor to make sure that workers have agency in their lives, right? To have choice and control over their own destinies. And as a union, that is what we are creating together with all of the members here, that workers need to be able to decide how they're going to live their lives. And because they have that, that ability to decide how they want to live their lives, that they also then choose to exercise their power, to demand, not to beg, because they've done the work, but to demand to be respected for that work. And so it has been this incredible year with our members of coming into that, right? Of acknowledging that we want that choice and control in our own destinies, and then seizing that power and working together from a place of, I know how it sounds, but of love, right? Our members love each other. That is what you see every day in the stores and these negotiations, that they're here for each other.
Well, tell us a little bit about the mechanics, because we have a lot of union folk who listen to the program, and people call in. They're part of like a reform movement within the context of a union, or they want to organize in their workplace. I'm curious as to sort of like some of the mechanics that took place over that transformation, and what were, COVID obviously a big part of I think like this greater awareness about the relationship between workers and management, and the sort of the exploitation that's going on and the taking for granted, et cetera, et cetera. But were there other factors that also played a part in this, in the mechanics that changed the disposition of the union?
We provided tools for our members to be powerful, right? A union is really just a collection of workers who are standing up together. And, for a really long time, the leadership of the union was not, here in Minnesota at least, was not ready for that. But now we are, right? I've only been president here for a year, so it's been a very short amount of time. But in that year, what we've come to recognize is that our members are ready and hungry and want to be at the center of our union, making the decisions of our union, being the face of our union. And those are all things that are beautiful and are a part of what the labor movement is, always has been, should be. And so we provide the tools for our members to be able to exercise that power, right? Through trainings, making sure that folks do everything and know how to do everything, from charting their own workplaces so that they know who they've talked to, who they haven't talked to, who's ready to strike, who's not ready to strike, to, trainings around how do you have a one-on-one conversation with your coworkers so that folks really understand what's at stake. And then doing the hard work of also helping folks through the hard times, right? Because taking a strike vote and then saying that I'm going to go out on an unfair labor practice strike is not easy. And there's fear and there's misinformation. And so making sure that our members know what the truth is, how to talk to their coworkers about it, and how they're supporting each other and creating those formal and informal networks of support. We had members who were, work part-time, very part-time, wouldn't be able to afford their bills if they had went out on unfair labor practice strike, even for 3 days. And so other coworkers in the store who had more offered that support, that financial support to their coworkers. And so between these networks and relationships, about what we all deserve together, folks figured it out. And so as a union, those are things in the day-to-day, I think like things that you can't necessarily quantify, but you feel.
So it sounds like there was a concerted effort to sort of turn your members into organizers. And provide them the training and the tools, as you say, to do so. Did you find that it was just a matter of empowering people in that way and giving them a mission, or were younger people who are members of your union or more recent members of your union more inclined to sort of like engage in that? Were older members less inclined, or were they just sort of hungry and all of a sudden you put a fork and a knife in front of them and they just went at it?
It's our members, because it's grocery stores. You have folks who are teenagers and you have folks who have worked in these grocery stores for like 40 plus years. And so the diversity in age is incredible. And they were all equally out there and ready to do these actions. And it really is, in the union, we say a lot of times the jargon you hear people use is "you are the union." And it is jargon unless you provide tools for people to understand, as you say, and help them become organizers, so that they don't just have a hope and a dream for what they want to do, but they actually have the tools to actually execute on that, right? Because it's not normal to just walk up on somebody that you don't know very well and start talking to them about their hopes and dreams for what this job can provide. It's not like we're Minnesotans. We're like Minnesota nice, and we don't do that, right? And so providing some tools for our members around how do you start those conversations, how do you build these relationships, and helping them become organizers was really the core of what it took, that discipline, that organizational discipline of being willing to do that, and then letting our members lead. That is the other part, that just letting workers lead.
What can folks who may live in the area do to help out these workers in their fight to get better wages?
So if you live in Brainerd Lakes area, you don't, regardless, contact the Quisbergs and the miners. Those workers are still out right now without a contract. They're working without a contract, and let them know that these are essential workers that we all depend on. And the employer, since they can afford it, should afford a livable wage. And from here, where we're in negotiations for a food processing plant, is Tony Downs Foods in Madelia, where earlier last year there were reports of child labor. Similarly, the employers can afford to do right by the workers, and so they should respect these workers, and they should pay the livable wages that folks need to support their families. It's not asking a lot, and so anybody and everybody, please do reach out and call these employers, email these employers, and share that we need livable wages for families.
Rena Wong, President of the United Food and Commercial Workers, Local 663. Thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking to Abby Vesoulis, national politics reporter at Mother Jones, about WIC, which is really under the gun at the moment. I also got to say, like, I live in the Northeast. If somebody came up to me and asked me what my hope and dreams are, I would start to jog away from them.
Yeah.
That's what I would probably.
A little too earnest.
I would be. Excuse me. I would be looking around like, what's going down here?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigland on the Majority Report. Joining us now, Abby Vesoulis. She is the national politics reporter at Mother Jones, or I should say a national politics reporter at Mother Jones. I think there's a couple. Abby, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
WIC, the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children. Give us a brief history of this program.
So WIC is a nutritional program for pregnant people, breastfeeding people, infants, children under 5. And the idea is to supplement their diets with food and milk and infant formula that helps them live their healthiest lives. And it's been around, it actually just a couple days ago celebrated its 50th birthday. Nixon was the president who introduced this at a 1969 nutrition conference. And for the last 50 years, it's been a really helpful program to families on the lower end of the income scale.
I want to read a couple of quotes that you cite from Nixon, which is it's just disturbing. Because you don't hear politicians talk like this anymore. And for Richard Nixon to be the voice of reason in this type of a situation is a little bit sort of just unsettling. Malnutrition is a national concern because we are a nation that cares about its people, how they feel, how they live, said Nixon. This nation cannot long continue to live with its conscience if millions of its own people are unable to get an adequate diet. He went on to say also that a child ill-fed is dulled in curiosity, lower in stamina, distracted from learning. I mean, we've obviously known this now for 50 years. The mounting cost of medical care for diet-related illness, remedial education required to overcome diet-related slowness in school, institutionalization and loss of full productive potential. All of these place a heavy economic burden on society as a whole. You said this in 69. The program started in 73, or I should say started in 72 as a pilot program and then full on in 73. I also should just add that it was his Commerce Secretary that basically decided to subsidize corn and so that we get corn syrup and cornstarch in everything that we have. And that hasn't been great for things like diet-related slowness and illness and whatnot. But be that as it may. So how many people, and give us a sense of like the trajectory of this, if you know it, over the course of these 50 years, what has been like sort of the low numbers and the high numbers in terms of folks who can get pregnant, folks who are breastfeeding, kids and infants who are eating essentially in a healthy manner because of this program? What have been the highs and the lows over those 50 years?
At first, the program was serving a couple 100,000 to 1 to 2 million, but in recent years and right now, actually, the program serves over 6 million people per month, including almost half of all infants born in the United States. Somewhere between 40% and 50% of babies born in the US rely on WIC. But if this program is not given the additional $1 billion that it needs to serve a growing number of people, then as many as 2 million children especially will be kicked off the program before September.
And so how does it so people must cycle through this like by design, right? I mean, because you're not pregnant for, more than 9 or 10 months. You're not breastfeeding for more than a year or 2 or 3. You're not an infant for more than a year or 2. I mean, so what is the process in which people cycle through? And when we talk about 2 million less children, let's say, participating in the program, are that as people cycle out, needy kids won't be able to cycle in, or will there be people who like get early, get kicked off the program earlier than normal? How will that work, the mechanics of it?
The way that people get connected to WIC is usually through some sort of doctor. Pregnant people go in for a checkup, and if they're lower on the income scale or if their weight isn't where it should be, then a lot of times their doctors or their doctor's office will refer them to join the WIC program. And then they can sign up through the doctor's office sometimes, or through community health centers, hospitals. They've really been upping the education around WIC, and that's why we're seeing the program grow to 6 million users per month. There is a priority scale for WIC. So infants and people who are breastfeeding or pregnant, those are higher priority for the programs serving them than older children. Children as old as 5 can be eligible. But if we get to a funding crisis, like we're projected to get to in the next couple months, then when it comes time for families to reapply for their 2 or 3-year-old, those families will then be put on a waiting list. But infants and people who are breastfeeding or currently pregnant, those people are higher priority. So those people theoretically should not be kicked off. But if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, then you reapply every few months. But if you have a toddler, then you reapply about every year. So if you're currently on the program and don't need to reapply soon, you should be safe. But if you have an older kid or you've already given birth and you need to reapply, then it would be those sorts of people who go on this wait list if Congress doesn't appropriate the extra funds.
All right, and I want to get to the sort of the appropriation aspect of this and the sort of like the series of multi-temporal layered continuing resolutions that we have right now. But in normal times, I was just reading, Em and I were just talking about this piece where there's been a shift in some of the southern states, I think it was Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, that are contemplating the idea of expansion of Medicaid. Florida and Texas still big holdouts, but I think the 11 that held out initially when Obamacare was rolled out and the expansion of Medicaid, I think we're down to 4 or 5 or 6. When Medicaid expands and you have a cohort of people, low-income people who now suddenly have health insurance and presumably will have the ability to see a doctor, and then having that probably earlier contact with a doctor when they are pregnant, and a more consistent contact with a doctor. In normal times, would that then expand WIC? And what is the spending mechanism for that to happen?
So more interaction with the doctor would definitely increase the awareness of the program. So it would just by design encourage more people to sign up for WIC. Also, there were a couple COVID mechanism changes where appointments to get signed up used to need to be in person, but because of COVID, a lot of those have moved online. And so that's just made it easier for families to do the necessary steps to get on WIC. So those are just kind of programmatic shifts that have just made it easier and more efficient to get on WIC. It's not an automatic thing where if you go to the doctor's office just automatically signs you up, but it's just if you're giving people more opportunities to learn about something, then there's going to be more people that join it.
And how elastic is that funding? So that in the event that there are reasons why it would be easier to sign up for WIC, or you'd have more contact with WIC, or you'd have more contact with people who could facilitate that. How does the funding expand with that? Or is it that people on the lowest priority settings, they get bumped, whereas they may have been deserving a year ago when there was only, 5 million people who had access to WIC.
Mhm.
I'm just throwing around numbers. And now that there's, 5,500,000, they're no longer as deserving. I mean, is that the way it works, or does the
Basically.
funding expand with?
Kind of both. So WIC is, unlike Medicaid, unlike SNAP, WIC is not an entitlement program. Just because you qualify for it doesn't mean you automatically get it. However, for the last 25 years, at least the last 25 years, Congress has acted like WIC is an entitlement program. Every time there's been a greater number of people that have signed up for it, Congress has said, okay, Nixon was right. Food for pregnant people, food for infants is important. Let's fund the program to meet as many people's needs as apply and are income eligible. This is the first time in 25 years where Congress hasn't appropriated that extra amount. So for the first time in those 25 years, the states who run the program might have to turn people away. And so we'll see that when it comes time to reapply, and the lower priority people, namely the toddlers, the postpartum people who have already given birth, those people are starting to see them turned away.
But isn't there a fear that these toddlers are going to see the safety net as a hammock?
Certainly. And, we have a maternal health crisis in the US, and that will probably get better if we give people less nutritious foods.
Yeah, I am a little bit hesitant to let the toddlers feel like they're going to get a free ride with stuff.
You got to start early. So bootstraps theory early on.
100%. How did the continuing resolution, all this sort of like this disaster that the Republican, sort of conference is, how is that adding to this? Is it just that like it's one of those things that's fallen through the cracks because there's no sort of like there's no one in at least the Republican caucus who cares enough about it that they're going to make sure it gets funded?
Yeah, I mean, the longer we go without an actual full year budget, the worse this problem gets, because this program has just been seen as a necessary thing for the last 25 years. States are in this limbo period where they're told to, we don't know what's going to happen yet. We don't know when or if there's ever going to be an actual appropriations bill passed. So just keep acting as if Congress will come through with this money. And in the meantime, the states are spending money that they don't have. They're spending into the future, thinking that Congress will eventually come through with this money. So the longer we get into the fiscal year without a budget, the more people they're going to have to put on wait lists, because right now they're spending money from March, from April, just thinking that Congress might come through with the money. So
and there's no way that Congress is going to backfill this hole, right? I mean, unlikely.
I don't see it happening. I mean, so the estimate that 2 million people will be kicked off WIC, that's thinking that the budget will be the same as last year. But we have Republicans, we have the House Freedom Caucus, who are pretty insistent that they want social spending programs to come in way under what they were previously. And so if they get their way with WIC, then WIC funding goes down. And instead of 2 million people getting kicked off of WIC, which is what the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities predicts, we're going to see closer to 5 million people be kicked off WIC. And the 2 million people being kicked off WIC, again, that's if we just copy paste the funding from last year. If it goes down, then we see many more people kicked off.
I wonder if they're going to issue like a statement, like something to the effect of malnutrition is a national benefit, because we're a nation that does not care about its people, how they feel or how they live. And just sort of like vague echo of Richard Nixon. Abby Vesoulis, national politics reporter at Mother Jones. Thanks so much for your time today. When will we know? I mean, it really is just, we're not going to know until, what is the deadline for this tranche of the budget?
March 1st is when they need to pass a full appropriations budget, or, they could kick the can down the road again and do another continuing resolution.
All right, Abby Vesoulis, thanks so much for your time today. We'll link to that piece at in our podcast and YouTube and description as well at majority.fm. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break, head into the fun half. It really is disturbing when Richard Nixon sounds like a good guy relative to where we are today.
Yeah. I mean, not your father's Republican Party, I guess.
Well, there's a book by Gary Wills. I don't know if you heard about this book, Sam, Nixon Agonistes, and it argues that Nixon's basically the last liberal. And there's actually a clip we played the cold open with to start the show, Left Reckon last night. And it's Nixon saying, I'm actually not against teaching Marxism and socialism in universities. I think we should.
I thought Dave Rubin was the last liberal.
No, that happened actually 50 years ago.
My only, I guess, rebuttable to that would be like, I feel like George Herbert Walker Bush was probably a closet liberal. Like he was a liberal, but he had to pretend after 8 years of Reagan, he had to pretend he was.
Right.
All right, folks. Just a reminder, it's your support that makes this show possible. It really is our members who, when we get demonetized, and incidentally, guys, I don't know if Dorsey sent you that new clip, but when we get demonetized because of some dumb thing or whatever it is, because we're, playing video or saying stuff that is not advertiser friendly, you do not see any of us go on Twitter and cry about it for 4 days.
Make it a branding experiment.
Talk about censorship and whatnot.
Who are we referring to?
I mean, everybody.
Well, really everybody. The point is our members make it possible for us not to have to whine and pretend like somehow the CIA is out to get us. And so if you have the ability to support the program, you like the content we provide on any given day, jointhemajorityreport.com is the way that you can make sure that we survive and thrive. Also, if you drink coffee, you got to be drinking just coffee.coop coffee. Fair trade coffee and hot cocoa. You can also get the Majority Report blend. It is great. I've gotten a couple of emails recently. I don't know what it is that happened. Maybe there was a push over the holiday. I don't know what it is of people telling me like they cannot believe they have been listening to the show for 10 years, never bothered to try just coffee. In addition to it being, if you go out, buy whole bean coffee from anywhere, you're going to find that this is eminently reasonable. But it also is fair trade and it's a co-op. And they've got great coffee blends in addition to the Majority Report one. Use the coupon code Majority, get 10% off. Check it out. They got all different sizes. You can get it ground or unground. Get like 5-pound bags or smaller bags, all of it. Justcoffee.coop. Emma.
ESPN will be...
What's on the Taylor Swift report?
Oh, gosh. We'll talk about that tomorrow on ESPN, where I will also we'll do the recap since I was out on Monday of the 2 conference championship games. I'll probably go off on people who are hating on Mahomes because it's just what's wrong with you?
What do you mean, the CIA planned?
Yeah, well,
playing his role as a puppet in the CIA, in the deep states.
Orchestrated. Maybe why the Chiefs are getting to the Super Bowl again, and it has nothing to do with Taylor Swift promoting voter registration. It's because Mahomes is the greatest player in the history of the sport. That might be why. So youtube.com/ESPN show.
What does you think about Dr. Fauci?
Also, Mr. Pfizer, right? Yeah, I forgot about that with Kelsey. I just want to also say I did the show for Francesca's Fiorentini's Bituation Room live on Sunday. That was why I was in San Francisco. And if you want to see that live show, I didn't realize this until today. If you're a patron of the Bituation Room with Francesca Fiorentini, you would be able to see the live show. You can see me try to keep up with the 3 comedians that are on stage. But I did have a lot of rants about Gaza and that kind of thing. And there was, traditional Palestinian music played at the start of the show. It was really a wonderful time. So if you have the ability and you'd like to support Francesca, and if you want to see that, you can become a patron and see the live show on there.
Matt, Left Reckoning.
Yeah, Left Reckoning last night, David Griscom and I talked about the border stuff, and also had Bronco March on to talk about Nikki Haley, and Ben Fong on to talk about his new podcast on CIO history. So check that out, patreon.com/Left Reckoning.
We will be back in a moment with the fun half.
You are in for it.
All right, folks, 646-257-3920. See you in the fun half.
Are you ready?
Who sent us this?
Alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just as delicious as you could imagine.
The alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just want to degrade the white man.
Alpha males are back.
I take all of it to my throat.
Alpha males are back.
Snowflake says what?
The alpha males are back.
You are a madman.
And the alpha males are back.
Oh no, Sam Seder! What a fucking nightmare!
Bring back DJ Danner.
Yeah, or a couple of them. Just put them in rotation.
DJ Danner.
Well, the problem with those is they're like 45 seconds long, so I don't know if they're enough of a break.
That's fucking nonsense. You see white people doing drugs, they look worse than normal white people, and all white people look disgusting.
And the alpha males,
psych, fuck them.
Snowflake says what? Snowflake says what?
A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. Okay, I'm making stupid money. Hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank.
All lives matter. Have you tried doing an impression on a college campus?
I think that there's no reason why reasonable people across the divide can't all agree with this. Psych.
And the alpha males are back. And the Africans are black African. And the alpha males are black. And the Africans are back.
When you see Donald Trump out there, doesn't a little part of you think that America deserves to be taken over by jihadists? Keeping it 100. Can't knock the hustle. Come on, fuck them. Things I do for the bigger game plan. By the way, it's my birthday. Happy